What do you call a player at 25 years old is statistically seen as more productive than Lionel Messi in his prime? What do you call a striker who has a higher scoring average in the history of the World Cup than Ronaldo, Maradona or Pelé? 10 years ago, we would have referred this player as the chosen one, as the undisputed greatest of all time. But today we call this player boring or overrated. Or we say, well, he hasn't won a Champions League yet. I've been looking at Kylian Mbappe's numbers over the last few weeks, and I don't mean the highlights on TikTok or the transfer rumors on Twitter, I mean the naked, cold hard data. And I noticed something that honestly almost scares me. We are collectively suffering from a disease, let's call it Mbappé fatigue. We have gotten so used to the abnormal that we've forgotten how absurd the things we see every week actually are. Is Kylian Mbappé really just a fast player in a weak league? Or are we currently watching the best player of all time and just shrugging our shoulders? To understand what is happening here right now, we don't even have to look into the history books. Let's stay in the here and now. Let's take at the current race for the Golden Boot. Right at the top of the food chain, here we have Harry Kane, 17 goals. And right behind him lurks Kylian Mbappé, 16 goals. And exactly here lies the problem. If you just check your app quickly in the morning over coffee, you see Kane right at the top. You nod and think to yourself, okay, Kane is ahead. He even has 1 goal more. He's the more productive striker. Maybe you even say Kane is more efficient. And you know what? That's fair. Kane is playing an absolute monster season. But we all know, football isn't math. 17 goals are not equal to 17 goals. It is a massive difference whether I stand in the 6-yard box, stick my foot out and celebrate, or if I receive the ball, dribble past 3 defenders and then put the thing in. And exactly here's where it gets interesting. I wanted to find out how these goals really happen. So I cooked up a little experiment. I took the data from every single player from the top leagues, but I didn't look at the shots. I looked at how often these guys touched the ball where it hurts, in the opponent's penalty box. And then I put them into this diagram here. Let me briefly explain what we see here. The bottom, that represents the goals. The further right, the more goals you've scored. The side, that represents ball touches in the box. The higher you are, the more often you have the ball at your feet in the dangerous zone. Let's look at Harry Kane first. He has 17 goals, so he's far to the right. But look at the height. He has 64 touches in the box. That tells us everything about his game. Harry Kane is the ultimate one-touch killer. He's the final station. He waits for the perfect pass, controls it and scores. He doesn't need many touches. He's efficient. Then we have Erling Haaland, 15 goals, 97 touches. He's already much more involved. He digs, he works, he's more present. That makes sense for a monster like him. But now we look for Kylian Mbappé. If he has almost the same goals as Kane, he should actually be nearby, right? No. Mbappé is up here. Hold on tight. While Kane had the ball 64 times in the box, Mbappé had it 119 times. That is almost double. Do you understand how absurd that is? Mbappé doesn't wait for someone to serve him the ball. He lives in the box. He demands the ball, he goes into the dribble, he draws 2-3 defenders to himself, he creates the chaos, and in the end, he still scores the goal himself. Harry Kane needs a system that works for him. Kylian Mbappé is the system. This graphic doesn't just show us that he's a goal threat, it shows us that he dominates the game in a way that should actually be physically impossible for a normal striker. He's a playmaker and executioner simultaneously. Okay, check that box. We know now that he dominates in the penalty area, but I want to ask you to join me for a short thought experiment. Imagine we take the goals away from the best strikers in the world. Just like that. We simulate a bad evening, a game where the ball just doesn't want to cross the line. Post, crossbar, world-class saves. What is actually left for these players then? For 99% of all strikers, the answer is brutal. Nothing. If a classic number 9 doesn't score, he's basically a spectator with a VIP ticket on the pitch. He might bind a defender occasionally, but actually, he's just waiting. He's dependent. If the system doesn't deliver, he starves. But I've specifically looked at Kylian Mbappe's games in the last few days where he didn't score. These so-called bad games. And I noticed something crazy. Even if there's a 0 on the scoreboard, he's often still the dominant, most dangerous player on the entire pitch. He doesn't wait for the game, he makes the game. And that isn't just my feeling. The data proves that he actually plays 2 positions at the same time. To see that, we have to look at the shot-creating actions. That is the currency for creativity. Who plays the deadly pass? Who goes into dribble that rips up the defense open? Normally, that is the job of the number 10s, the Kevin De Bruynes of this world. I went through the list of the top leagues to find the most creative player in the world. At number 2, Bruno Fernandes. That makes sense. Bruno is the brain of Manchester United. His only job is to create chances. For that he gets paid. He reaches 87 actions. World class. But who's at number 1? Who creates more danger than any midfield maestro in Europe? Kylian Mbappé with 101 actions. Let that sink for a moment. The guy who's fighting with Harry Kane for the golden boot, who should actually be standing up front and finishing, is simultaneously the best playmaker in the world. He has the creativity of a classic number 10, but he has the killer instinct of a number 9. He isn't simply just part of the system, he is the system. And exactly that makes him an anomaly that we have perhaps never seen like this before. Now I already hear the first voices. You are sitting there and maybe thinking, okay, relax, the kid is just on a run. But that is the point where we are wrong. We have to stop calling this a run. This here is no hot autumn. This is no form curve that spikes up briefly. This here is the standard. Take a step back. Let's zoom way out. Let's go back to the year 2020, the last 5 years. In modern football, that is half an eternity. Who really dominates the sport when we tune out all the hype and headlines? Let's look at giants. There is Robert Lewandowski, one of the best 9s we have ever seen, 240 scorer points since 2020. There's Erling Haaland, the force of nature, 255 scorers. There's Harry Kane, consistency personified, 257 scorers. Those are numbers for which other pros would sell their souls. That is the absolute peak of the food chain. And then you have Kylian Mbappé with 293 points. Let that settle for a moment. He isn't leading this list closely, this is no photo finish. The gap between him at place 1 and Harry Kane at place 2, that is almost 40 scorer points. Do you know what that is? That is almost Ousmane Dembele's entire last Ballon d'Or season. He basically has the yearly performance of a world-class player as a buffer over the other world-class players. If you look at the naked data since 2020, there's actually no discussion anymore. There is no head-to-head race. There's Kylian Mbappé, and then, with a very, very large safety distance, eventually comes the rest. But let's be honest, hand on heart. Goals against Brest or Granada pay your bills. They fill your bank account, but they don't make you immortal. To really ascend to Olympus, to reach this mythical status that we will tell our grandkids about in 50 years when we are old and grey, for that, the daily league grind isn't enough. Even the Champions League group stage isn't enough. You have to deliver when the world stands still, when 4 billion people hold their breath simultaneously. World Cups. Let's go back briefly. Let's remember 2018, Russia. Kylian Mbappé is 19 years old. 19. At that age, most guys are just getting their driver's license or hanging out on Discord. Mbappé? He takes apart Argentina single-handedly and scores in a World Cup final. Only one single teenager in the entire history of mankind has done that before him, Pelé. He was back then not only present, he was the face of the tournament. But that was only the intro. Let's fast forward. December 18th, 2022, the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. 17th minute, France is clinically dead. Argentina leads 2-0. Messi is celebrating his coronation mass. The French haven't brought a single shot on goal up to this point. Everyone in the stadium, everyone in front of the TV has written off this game. The history was already written. And then Kylian Mbappé decides that he doesn't like the script. He needs exactly 97 seconds to unhinge the football world. First, the penalty, ice cold, and then this volley. He scores a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Let that melt on your tongue. 3 goals in the biggest game this sport has to offer. The last human who did that, Geoff Hurst, 1966, in black and white television. Mbappé almost forced this game into extra time and penalty shootout single-handedly. He went to the spot 3 times against Emi Martinez, arguably the nastiest penalty killer in the world, and he converted 3 times. He didn't win the trophy that evening, no, but he cemented his immortality that evening. Let's look at the naked numbers, because feelings can deceive, but math doesn't lie. Lionel Messi, the maestro, the probably greatest of all time, his quota at World Cups, 0.8 scorers per game. Outstanding. The real Ronaldo, we always thought he was the final boss, the god of World Cups. he lies at 1.05. And Kylian Mbappé, 1.07. In 14 World Cup games, this guy has delivered 12 goals and 13 assists. He's statistically seen deadlier at World Cups than the biggest icons who have ever laced football boots. He's better than Maradona and better than R9. He performs not only when it's easy, no, when the pressure is too big that normal world-class players break, when legs become heavy, exactly then Kylian Mbappé just starts to really have fun. And here, exactly here, the circle closes. If we take all that together, this absurd efficiency from the penalty area, the playmaking of a number 10, the unnatural dominance at World Cups, then we have to stop lying to ourselves. We make a mistake constantly. We look at the table, see Harry Kane or Erling Haaland next to him and think, that is the level, but that is rubbish. Don't get me wrong, Haaland and Kane are fantastic players, but when we talk about Kylian Mbappé, it is simply the wrong weight class. We must not measure him with his contemporaries. We have to look at what the gods of this sport did at his age. I looked at the stats of the greatest of all time. Up to the day they turned 25 years old. Cristiano Ronaldo, a physical anomaly, one of the best scorers in history until 25, 320 scorer points. Lionel Messi, the alien, the player of whom we thought his numbers were carved in stone for eternity, until 25, 423 scorer points. That should actually be the limit, that was the limit, and now we fade in Kylian Mbappé. 462 scorer points. Let that number stand in the room for a moment. He's not just barely over, he has almost 40 scorers more than Lionel Messi in his absolute prime youth. He has 142 scorers more than Cristiano Ronaldo at the same age. That is not just a few good games more, that is a whole career difference that he has there as elite. Do you understand what we are actually seeing here? He doesn't chase Ronaldo, he doesn't even chase Messi, he's ahead of them. We waste so much time calling him arrogant or arguing about his transfer sagas that we overlook the obvious. We are watching live right now how a player is on the best way, statistically seen, to become the most unreachable footballer of all time. Harry Kane may currently have just as many goals. He plays a world-class season. But Kylian Mbappé, he plays no game against Harry Kane. He plays a game against history, and at the moment, he's winning. Forget the noise, ignore the tweets, believe the data. Kylian Mbappé is not the next anyone, he's the first Mbappé. And the scary thing about it? I think he's just warming up. What do you think? Will Mbappé become one of the best players of all time? Feel free to write me your opinion in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like, and if you don't want to miss more videos like this one, then you have to subscribe to this channel. Ciao, and see you next time.